It's 7 o'clock. Is everybody ready to go?
Yeah.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Lower Paxton Township Authority meeting for Tuesday, November 26, 2024. Welcome, everybody. First item of business is going to be the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Ramsey. Please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good. Mr. Ramsey, thank you. Appreciate it. All right. First item of business is approval of the minutes from August 27th. Everybody should have saw those posted here. Did everybody get a chance to read those minutes?
Did.
Any changes? All right, hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Judd. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Zumas. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right, now, public comment. So public comment will be any matter that is not on the agenda. We can have public comment. If you're going to do public comment, please come up to the podium there. You need to give us your name, address, and the matter that you're here to talk about. I would ask, for purposes of time, that if it's one item to be addressed, please try to address it succinctly, and also if we can try not to talk about the same item over and over again, that would be great. But we'll just go to public comment. So, is there any public comment at this point? Mr. Blaine.
My name is Stephen Blaine. I live at 5732 Kenwood Avenue. I live in the Meadowbrook community that has a sewer project going on. We were here in May. Telling you that this project wasn't going to get done, and it's not done. It's not even close to done. We recently received a letter from Mr. Weaver, and he basically told us some paving projects, and some there's not accomplished yet and won't be accomplished. Have anybody been out to that neighborhood lately? Some of those roads are just unacceptable. They did take care of Kenwood Avenue, appreciate it, but that's not my only reason to be here. I live in that community. There's other roads. Sidewalks still aren't accomplished. Curbs aren't done. It's just a safety matter. And we were here in May, and we told you it wasn't going to get done. We live there. We there see them every day. There was no work done at all this week there, by the way. However, we were here. We told you it wasn't going to get done. We gave them an extension. At first it was done, I think it was the end of September it was supposed to be finished. Then we gave them an extension. And now it's still not even close to done. Not even close. And the problem is the township. Why have we not got on the contractor to get this job done? I'm not the only. We could fill this room up with the people who live here that are so disgusted with how the township has handled this, from the sewer authority to the actual township himself, the township manager. It's unacceptable, and that's where I'm at. So what is the recourse that we're going to continue now that the contract hasn't been fulfilled? That they're way behind.
Mr. Blaine, hold on a second. So, Mr. Weaver, can you give us an update on where we are with the conversations you've had with Dolly in regards to the status of this contract and what their calendar of completion is tentatively at this point?
Sure. Yes, the contractor provided a paving schedule that was distributed to the public for base paving. They could get all the base paving done by mid-December. So They have completed all of it but 3 streets, and they have told us that they should be back, weather permitting. We're supposed to get a cold spell, but in the next 2 or 3 weeks, they should be back to finish the 3 last roads that have not been base paved. That would be Timber, Raybuck, and Cloverdale. So after mid-December, then all the roads in the whole project will have base paving.
Okay. So basically, right now, at this point in time, they think that they can get back in December and get the majority of the base paving done at this point.
That's correct.
Okay.
Weather permitting. I mean, they need 35 degrees and rising.
Okay.
So if we get a cold spell, some days that's difficult, but as long as it's 35 and up, they say they have a paving plant that they is still open. So
What were some of the reasons around the delays that they had that would push this out a little bit farther?
well, the utilities in that neighborhood had to be relocated for the storm sewer work. Like I said, there was on Kenwood alone, it was dug 6 times. All the different utility relocations, sewer laterals, storm sewer. So they could not finish the storm sewer in there because they don't have, the contractor has no control. Only the PUC can control a utility. We can't even control it. Our engineer can't call the electric company up and say, hey, can you please get this done? They're like, yeah, get in line. We have, a backlog. So it's really right now only the electric company that's holding up the storm sewer. That's what delayed the base paving in there before was, they couldn't get the storm sewer work done to get the paving done.
Okay.
And they are going to base pave there's still 120 feet of storm sewer to put in on Cloverdale. And then that's all the pipe work. But, because of the roads, we're just telling them base pave it and then dig up the base paving and finish the storm sewer when the electric's moved.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Okay, Bill, what about all the curbing that's not done? Can you explain what's going to happen there? Because the temperature is going down.
Jason maybe can help with that. We did get a new punch list. You got that today or a couple days ago from Eric? I think there's mostly just curbing and 14 ADA ramps. That probably take them about another month, but I think they can use the heating blankets for most of that, can they not?
Yeah, it looks like that is the majority of what's on the punch list here, the latest update. It's curbing along Kenwood, sidewalk, resetting some mailboxes. Looks like there's still a little bit of lawn restoration that needs to occur. So, I mean, the paving schedule shouldn't be dependent on any of that. There's really no reason why that work can't be done really whenever the contractor has availability to do it.
Okay, so the lawn work, they're not going to be able to do that till the spring. You can't plant grass now.
No, they can't plant the grass, but I think the other things, weather permitting, there's really no reason why they can't address those.
Because I noticed on Cloverdale, there's a piece of a sidewalk when I was out there yesterday that's not done either.
Yeah.
There's several spots like that. I mean, several. And Mr. Packer he can list them for you if you'd like. With that said, again, we're just going to it's going to take a couple more months. Is this how we operate here? I mean, there's a deadline. It needs to be met, at least be close to be met, and they're not even close. And they seem the contractor wants to do it when they feel like doing it. And the board here just feels like, okay, we're just going to let them do, and we got to get the job done. I understand that. But, why have we not been progressive, trying to get this accomplished in a faster manner? And I guess everyone just looks with a dumb look on your face like, well, I guess it is what it is. So Mr. Packer would like to talk actually about it.
John Packer, I live at 5723 Kenwood Avenue. So I just to follow up on Mr. Blaine's, I just have some more specifics. We go back to what we talked about at the supervisors meetings a few times. The contract, and we don't control what the contractor does. I get that. But we gave them an extension, which is now expired in a few days. So has a new he's telling us it's not going to get done till December, whatever. So what's the recourse for the township? It's in the contract that you can fine them $1,300 a day. So we gave them an extra 60 days with no fines, nothing, cracking the whip to make them do more than what they've been doing already.
Yeah, Mr. Packer, let me turn it over to our attorney, and she's going to address some of the contract issues, because we are looking into the contract from the perspective of fines and what there might be available for us for not meeting the timelines.
And I don't really need an answer to, specifically right now as far as that, but we are going to be outside of the contract by what Mr. Weaver just told us, by at a minimum 2 weeks. As Ms. Lindsay said too, there's utility work. Okay, well, the last supervisors meeting we were at, which was probably 2 months ago, we kind of let things go because they had the extension. So we've let the extension kind of run its course, and we've sat and we've watched. We live there. We're there all the time. We're retired, so we get to be home more than most other people do. Shortly after that meeting 2 months ago, PP&L came out, and there's a box between mine and my neighbor's house. They dug up the concrete sidewalk. They dug a hole to it. It exists today as it did the day they did it. So we're talking 60 days later, there's electrical lines that are open. Yeah, they're live, they're in conduit, but it's open. And all that's around it is a orange fence. The concrete sidewalk that they tore out is just laying between the street and the side, where the sidewalk was supposed to be. It actually was laying in the street, but when they milled the street, the Dolly crew moved it because they weren't going to pick up the piece of concrete that PP&L's guys threw partly on the street. As he said, I came up with a minimum of 25 item punch list just by driving around the development today. And that's me as a layperson just driving around going, well, there's curbing missing there. There's ADA stuff missing there. By Mr. Weaver's admission, the first letter we got, he said there was 27 ADA ramps that needed done. Now there's 14. They've only completed half in this entire project, and he thinks they're going to get them done by December 14th? You got to be kidding me. It's been looking at more like 3 months or so at the end of August, and they've only completed maybe half of them, and they think they're going to get the rest done in a couple weeks when they're not working all this week. They're done. It's a holiday. I get it. So we're just kind of tired of the pushing it off on PP&L or whatever. I get there's constraints with some of that stuff, but the complaint is that I don't see Mr. Weaver or the township manager being very proactive in pushing this contractor, in using the contract to the advantage of the township, to the residents, to the taxpayers. And part of the concern to me then becomes we know they've already moved off, and I think it's Claremont that's the next project, and they, as soon as they could get out of Kenwood, that area, they're over there. What they've done, I don't know, but as a taxpayer, I don't want to see this happen in another part of the township, and I don't know what's next. And there were comments made before, well, maybe Dolly won't put in next time. Well, who gives a rip? I'd rather have quality work, done than it just be the lowest price guy, and if they're always the lowest price guy, well, then that's a little suspect, in my opinion too. Does nobody else want to work for the township, or, what's going on that they're constantly the lowest price? So I don't know if anybody else has a comment as far as.
Mr. Weaver, I'm going to ask, have we been in touch, or maybe Jason, have we been in touch with Dolly, asking them why they're not moving ahead faster than what they are, because the contract date was on, November the 30th? Like, where have they been? Are we allowed to ask that? Where have they been?
Can I just say one thing real quick before you answer it? So in relation to that, again, the contract says that an extension shouldn't be granted when it is under the contractor's control. Well, one of the things that I guarantee you has been under their control is the concrete. I'm not complaining about the crew, but there's only been one of them, and we've said that before when we were here months ago. There's one crew out there trying to do all this work, and it's obviously impossible for them to meet these deadlines. So that is under the control of Dolly. You can blame whoever you want, but if they don't have enough crews out there doing the work, that's on them. So that is something that to us is going on that is easy to correct. Put another crew in there. You're going to double your production.
Yeah, and just to answer that question, Ms. Lindsay, we have been having job conferences that HRG is involved in with township staff, where we do discuss schedule and the outstanding items, and we're trying to bring this to a conclusion as quickly and efficiently as we can. I do know that I think Mr. Weaver had a conversation with the site superintendent today about their intentions to come back and finish the base paving on a weekly basis. The site superintendent and the construction department manager for the authority are coordinating with one another, and they're sending out updates with what crews are on site and what they're doing. So there is communication that's taking place.
They're just not moving. I mean, I was out there a week ago Sunday, and from Sunday till yesterday, it doesn't look like they did anything. And when I was there yesterday up on Cloverdale at the end, there's a tamper that was laying out in the road. I mean, if somebody wasn't paying attention, they were going to run right into it. Or if it got dark, there were no cones around it or anything. So they're not cleaning up either.
Yeah, so as of last week, this was the information that was shared. They had one paving crew on site, one miscellaneous crew doing cleanup, punch list items, and then a subcontractor that they used to do concrete work. And that was last week.
I mean, Raybuck and Palmer there at the end, it's a mess. That ADA ramp and all that curbing, that's been like that for months, and they haven't touched it.
I mean, where are we at? Is the concrete going to be done sometime soon? Is that what they're saying? Because that's not going to be done till next spring. Just telling you. I'm telling you before, telling you again. It's not going to be done until end of February, March, if they can work the whole time at the rate they're going.
Go to the podium.
So then what are we going to do?
Yes, Mr.
Then
Blaine.
what are we
Mr.
gonna
Blaine, can you come up to the podium?
I was like, for instance, just the concrete work in itself, it's not going to be done for months. I mean, at the rate they're going, the 3 guys they have working. So then what are we going to do? Now the job's pushed back until February, March. I mean, this just makes everybody look bad. Everyone up there, you guys all look bad how this contract is going. We have yet to go and hold this contractor accountable for what the work they're doing. And the work they're doing is lousy. They did base paving. Drive on Beaver Road one time and try to do the speed limit of 25. You're going to lose control of your vehicle because there's manholes sticking up. It's bumpy, rolly. So if you think that's good work, that's lousy work. And that road's used a lot, and it's unsafe.
Okay. All right.
Morgan, do we have any recourse with them at all, or no?
I have just started getting some of the contract documents. I want to look at all of the contract and the change orders, and I'll work with Jason to get those and your staff and look. The best answer I can give you is maybe.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Any other further comment? Any further public comment at this point? All right. Hearing none. Let's go to board member comments. Is there any board member comments at this point in time? All right. Moving right along. All right. Let's move on to the sanitary sewer fund first item of business, which is the presentation and action on the 2025 sanitary sewer fund budget. Mr. Weaver.
Sorry, give me 1 minute. First time setting this up. I hit projector controls, but it's not. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. It's my pleasure to present the 2025 Authority Sanitary Sewer Budget. Sam could not be here tonight. He apologizes, but he has an event for his son as an Eagle Scout. So Sam did prepare this presentation that he did last year as well to start posting on our website so the public can view more detailed information about our budgeting. Starting with the sanitary sewer for 2025, we have a revenue projection of $18.76 million, expenditures of $20.23 million. Of course, the board's aware we have a busy authority capital fund. For that sewer capital, we have revenues of $1.8 million, expenditures for 2025 of $14.4 million. That's mostly the Claremont project. For the stormwater operating fund, we have revenues projected at $3.6 million, expenditures at $3.4 million, which we can see we're still exceeding our expenditures with our current fee. I'm sorry, the capital for the stormwater fund, 471, and we do have a busy capital program now with stormwater as well, so we're at 4.8 million projected next year for the capital projects. So the overall increase of 315 million is about 2%. This is discontinued in anticipation of growth, 100 EDUs. There's an upward trend of permits. I did talk to a lot of the developers. If you've seen the construction occurring out there along Colonial Road, you have Elizabeth Village, you have Parkway Farms, you have Nisley. They'll be starting Cider Press Station. They expect to pull permits like by the dozens. So we do expect to see our revenues increase for tapping fees as well. And 2023, again, we're unusually high. For that reason, we had the Penvest loan retainage, and we also had the $541,000 proceeds on sale of Commerce Park lands. You can see the comparison that Sam provided from the prior budget. So we're pretty much in line with the good news that revenues are up because of these trends in construction and also interest earnings. We had the higher interest earnings in 22 and 23. Still in the sewer fund, again, the overall increase, 3% in expenditures. That's mostly primarily due to the increase from CRW and SWAT Air relative to transmission and treatment charges. Our general admin charges actually declined slightly. And your overall growth in debt service is just $255,000. That's the new debt that we recently took down, so we have to start paying on that. So your debt service did go up slightly, but again, our expenditures only increased by 3%. Financial reserves proposed to decline by $1.5 million to $22.9 million to start 2026. I know Mr. Blaine has been talking to Sam about the rate model. We'll have something to you next year. But the good news is, back in 22, the projected or the reserves are around $20 million. Because of the interest earnings, increase in revenues, and the sale of the land, we're up to 22.9. So when you see the new rate model, that's certainly going to help having more cash in the bank. But then we talked about some of these projects that we didn't anticipate, so it may still even out a little bit.
Bill, the sale of the land, was that over at Commerce?
Yes.
Okay.
For the sewer fund capital budget, revenues account for capital project grants, interest earnings that we just talked about for the unspent bond funds. There is some arbitrage that Sam has to deal with there, so we do not get the full 6%. It's all on timing and which bond issues they are. So this includes $1.6 million in total grants. We did luckily get the $1 million CFA grant and the $1.4 million grant for the township for the Claremont project. So that's a significant amount of money, $2.4 million. And again, the interest earnings for the unspent debt balances. Capital expenditures, again, $14 million. You've seen these projects before. We have the cost share for Paxton Creek, North Branch. I'm surprised we haven't gotten a bill yet, but they did get a new township manager there at Susquehanna. So we may be getting that bill here shortly. And we had some significant expenses you're going to hear later tonight, so I won't go into detail here, of the external repairs contract. That did increase our expenses, and we also had the Paxton Creek overflow and 2E. And then we have the Claremont project, and then we have the remaining BC7. So these few projects all amount to 14 million. So these reserves are projected to be depleted during 2025. I'm going to have GHD later tonight under the engineer's report. It's going to show you the revised drawdown that they did for us, that I worked on with them. And they also are working on the stormwater drawdown for us as well. We'll show you tonight. For the stormwater fund, we have an overall increase of 2% in revenues. Again, same goes, just good economic growth that we're experiencing. We anticipate 32,500 ERUs, $26 a quarter, and quarterly fees will remain unchanged. That rate model will be done again as well, but that looks in really good shape. And we anticipate, these static interest earnings on operating funds to continue. And the rates will eventually decrease. Revenues for we're very consistent through all the presentations and the gross and the township permits for construction. Not expected to have significant revenue growth impact given low residential charges for the fees for the stormwater are much lower than you see on sewer. So, residential doesn't really equate a whole lot in revenue like you see in sewer. Overall increase of 70,000 in the operating budget, which is about 2%. Again, you can see Sam's chart there. The revenues increasing, expenditures maintain consistency. So again, our financial reserves are in very good shape. For stormwater, 7.4 million total to start 2026. And again, I'll be showing you the drawdown for. We'll have the rate model next year, but I'll show you the drawdown on the capital side later tonight. So the capital fund for the stormwater, we're going to go over this a lot tonight, just to skip ahead a little bit, but there's basically 4.9 million. We have a lot of projects. HRG is doing multiple projects at once. We have the PC2, PC3, BC7, Colonial Park. We have the in-house stormwater replacement improvement projects for 1.9 million. Where we use our staff was saving us a lot of money on the sewer side as well. And Larry could not be here tonight, but later this evening under township reports, I'll show you a PowerPoint that he put together of the crew work in 2024, which is pretty impressive. So we have reserves on the stormwater side that we're going to carry in 2026 of about 2.3 million. So that bond issue is in a little better shape. And I'll be happy to answer any questions on the presentation. You do have the actual budgets in your line item budgets as well. And I can answer any questions on the line items if you have any for the sanitary sewer budget.
Bill, for the sanitary sewer, the rate, we're not increasing any rates. The rate stays the same. Same with the stormwater.
That's correct.
Correct. So that's the new. That's the good news.
The
right?
good news,
Good news
yes.
is that the rates will stay the same. There's no increase in rates for both sanitary sewer or storm sewer.
That's correct.
All right. Any questions on the budget, sanitary sewer fund budget? We've seen this before in draft. A couple minor tweaks to it here to the final budget. Any further questions? All right, if there's no further questions, is there a motion to approve the final 2025 sewer budget?
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Lindsay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Navarro. Is there any further discussion? All right, we do this by voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. All right.
I have to put the screen back to you so you can run it, or I can do
There
it
you go.
myself.
No, I'll take it. Take it from here.
How do I do that, Shelley?
All right, next item of business, approval correspondence to Wilshire residents for sewer force main extension. There you go. Let's see what we got there.
Thank you. Yes, board members. Some of you may recall, some of you, this is brand new. Back in 1986, the township was paving Wilshire. They came to the authority and say, hey, since we're paving this street, maybe a good idea to put in a dry sewer line. Unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of planning on the sewer side. They didn't have a crystal ball, I should say. They expected all the growth to occur where the sewer could be extended. However, the land to the east was never developed, and you have this dry sewer that goes nowhere. So in order to accommodate the dry sewer for the residents in this neighborhood of 12 people, 13 including the vacant lot, you'd have to put in a pump station. They're not happy about that. They want to use the gravity sewer, but Melissa did this study that basically showed that gravity is way more expensive, $400-some thousand. The front foot assessment to each resident would be twice than what it would be for just putting in a force main with individual grinder pumps. So that's essentially the memo. There, that's the example of what the pump station would look like if you put that in. And then Melissa has recommendations for the low-pressure sewer system. That's the layout. The layout basically shows the force main coming up Wilshire and tying into the existing manhole at on the west side of Wilshire Road. Again, it would serve 13 properties, 1 vacant. There is an issue with the one that your errors on there, Mr. Chairman, because they could connect actually to a force main that McNaughton just put in Phase 2B of Wilshire, but the homeowner would have to get an easement. So I have to actually work with our solicitor to see if this project would proceed, could we still charge of our front foot assessment if they could get to the force main. That would bump up everyone else by a little bit of money, but that's the controversial one on that one. I have Melissa here to answer questions, and Heather is here. Heather is actually our township SEO, so I thought it would be valuable for her to come tonight. Essentially, why we're having this on the agenda is there's so many people that have systems that are not functioning great. They're not technically failing. So for us to be demanded to put in sewer service, we'd have to get a letter from DEP saying, hey, you have failing systems, you have to do something. It's not to that extent, but they have systems that aren't working great. So that's basically what you have there on the screen, Mr. Blaine, is the pump station. If you keep going down, you should be able to see the estimates for the force main. So that's the estimate for the front foot assessment for every property. They'd have to put in their own grinder pump. They'd have to pay the tapping fee. So their total cost would be about $25,000 average. And I sent them Penvest that we use. They have a low interest loan that basically it's in your packet. You'll see that it's about $124 a month. So it's not great, but it's affordable if they do want to do public sewer. So there's no easy answer here. It's sort of like you're going to make some people happy if you decide to do it, and you're going to make some people angry if you decide to do it because they don't want to pay this. If you decide to do this project, if you get half the people sign up, then the other half have to connect. There's no choice. If they don't connect, the solicitor will tell you have the right to lien their property and do it yourself. So it's not an easy answer. So when you don't have easy answers, you do a survey. So that's what we're recommending. So at the bottom, you can see Melissa has provided 3 alternatives. There's always the do nothing option. We like those sometimes, do nothing. That won't make the 3 or 4 people happy that have been calling me for the last 10 years, 20 years. We did have one gentleman actually do a right to know request for all the history of why we're not providing sewer to their community. Option 2 is send a letter out to the property owners. That letter is in your packet. It's basically just a survey. Would you participate, and what kind of problems are you having with your system? And then option 3 is wait till you have a failing system that cannot be repaired or replaced, and then you would have to complete the project because DEP is going to tell you, okay, you have a failing system, you got to run sewer. Once you do that, there's no choice. Everyone has to connect. We're not at that point. But Heather, can you come up to the podium there and just maybe describe what contact you've had with the residents?
I've had some contact with the residents. In particular, there's one resident, an older resident who's been struggling with her system and getting it pumped more frequently than typical. And I believe there's only one or two people living at the residence, so they don't have a lot of flow going to the system. But her lot is, I believe, less than 4/10 of an acre. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that neighborhood is also served by wells, individual wells, and not public water, which makes a big impact on the siting of potential septic systems, because you have to be over 100 feet from any well on or off your property with a new on-lot system. So that really limits the available area for these residents to site a new system.
Okay, so they haven't seen any of the options at all. They know nothing about.
No, that we would
Okay.
just, if the board authorizes us to do, you're not authorizing, actually it doesn't even require a vote because you're not spending money, I guess, right? I mean, this consensus that we're sending a letter out, you're not guaranteeing to do anything other than.
Right, but they haven't seen any of
Yes,
this yet.
they'll
Okay.
see what their costs will be as an estimate, and we're going to give them the information about the low interest loans, and encourage them to come meet with us. And but so we know at least 2 or 3 people. Would you say, Heather?
Yeah.
Probably will definitely have systems that aren't great, and they're going to want to hook up.
Correct. And just the lot sizes in the neighborhood. I mean, there's 2 larger lots kind of in the center of that neighborhood, but the other lots are all, I believe, half acre or less, which is really limited. These are all improved lots with homes and pools and things like that. So to find undisturbed soils that are suitable, that don't impact the well radius from either the homeowner or their neighbors, is going to be very difficult. And those soils aren't, typically some of the best well-drained soils that we see.
So
So
these are the first homeowners that had built back there.
yeah, it seems to be just a pocket of on-lot systems where there's sewer surrounding them, and this dry sewer was run in that. on
I
that
think it's
street.
the other issue is it's wet. After rain events is when they have some issues.
I think there's been stormwater complaints as well, which is
Yeah.
separate from on-lot systems, but another factor, certainly in citing an on-lot system.
So I believe, Melissa, do you want to? Is there any questions for Heather? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't think so at this point.
Sure.
Thank you. Melissa, do you want to describe why you're recommending option 2?
I'm recommending option 2 just because you've had a couple homeowners that have come in and asked, for sewer service. And, we've talked to the one gentleman who put the right to know request in. We've given him the information. But since you have some homeowners that are requesting it, I think it's the appropriate thing to do is to send out a survey just to let people know what all is involved, because I think some of these homeowners might not know the extent of the amount of money that it's going to take to extend these. And just because, if, like Bill said, you've got an ordinance that if you've got sewer that fronts your property, you're mandated to tie in. So even if, you extend it and help out a couple of these homeowners that are having some issues, you're also going to be putting some burden on the people whose systems are probably working well still. So, since it's kind of a community issue, we figured it would probably be best to put it out to the community as a whole to get their input instead of just having, a mandated line come through before DEP requires it.
Because that is a big bill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and that does not include the cost to tie the house itself into the line, because without knowing where the septic systems are or located, or if they need to do any internal plumbing to change the directions and things too. So that could be a whole
So
different
that's on
animal.
top of the
That's on top.
25,000.
That's on top.
Well, the total though includes the 25,000 does include.
The 25,000 includes the front foot assessment for the line that's going to be public. It includes the laterals. It would include the grinder pump and the tapping fee that's also required, so that they're paying their fair share of the capacity further downstream and at the treatment plants.
So it's $120 a month if you get the low interest loan, if they can qualify. But
For how many years?
20. Yeah. It's a difficult decision, and again, there's no decision tonight other than just letting us send the survey out. We were talking about, I'm getting ahead of myself, but we were just kicking around at staff. It would be fair if you had a majority. You have 13 property owners. To be fair, you need 7 to move ahead. I don't think you're going to get that personally. I could be wrong. We only have 2 or 3 people that are complaining. Like you're saying, that's a lot of money to sign up for if your system's working and you're not paying a sewer bill. So, but, I think the important thing is just to get the survey out. So if we don't have any other questions of the engineer, I just ask for some kind of consensus from the board that,
I would like to ask a question
Sure.
first. I mean, we're dealing with what, 11, 12, 13 properties?
yep.
13, yes.
Instead of sending out a survey, with that few people, wouldn't it make sense to individually, personally contact them? Maybe have a meeting of the 11 or 13 people involved, explain the options in person. It would seem to me that obviously we're going a little bit farther than maybe most people would expect, but by the same token, the satisfaction with having been personally contacted and personally interviewed would be much higher than getting a letter in the mail. If they have questions, the questions could be answered at the time you were talking to them, rather than, back and forth. And it seems to me that we could make this process work a whole lot.
I like the idea. I think maybe we do both. Send the survey and schedule a meeting.
For me.
Yeah, okay.
But I guess the point is that when you're asking somebody to spend 25 grand, it seems to me that their neighbors get sewer taps. Why I have to pay 25? So it should be a little bit more.
Well, yeah, there's a
explanation.
lot of explanation that's
Right.
needed. I
That's all
totally
I'm saying.
agree, yes.
It would smooth out future problems.
Well, we do public meetings for all projects. We do them for our sewer projects, stormwater, so we're well-versed at
I'm not
public
talking
meetings.
about a public meeting. I'm talking about a meeting with these 13 people, whoever that is.
Yeah, we could certainly
Well,
do
I
that.
guess because they have to pick one, they have to pick an option before perhaps they're going to even get any more information, the way the letter's spelled out. Or would this be,
But my point is
Yeah.
that if you get the people together,
Well,
and
I
there's 3
understand.
people that badly need it, and there's
Yes.
7 people that are against it, maybe those 7 would want to meet their neighbors more than halfway and maybe compromise or something. It just seems to me that rather than making an antiseptic, check the box yes or no, we could do ourselves a big favor by taking on a minor project like that. Thank you.
Well, and I-
I totally agree. I mean, we could certainly do both. We could send out the survey and have, and by the way, come to a meeting if you want to learn about this.
I think, Bill, I would have the meeting first before you send out the survey.
agree.
Because I think there's
Okay.
going to be a lot of questions.
We can do
I
that.
agree. I think Mr. McCormick's ideas of.
how do you even set up the meeting if you don't send out a letter?
We can just send them a letter saying, come to this meeting.
Saying
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
have.
No,
We
I
could
don't want our people, it's hard to get people. I mean, you got to start with something on paper, let them know, and then you can follow up and,
Yeah, knocking on doors, I have to admit, does
No.
not work. We've tried that. Even though people work from home now, we tried that with delinquents.
Yeah,
and,
I think you got it.
and then you may end up with 3 people that you got to knock on their door. But you
Yeah.
want to start with
I
it.
think you start with something, and no one's saying, Mr. Judd, that you don't send, I mean, obviously you got to send out a communication saying that we have this potential project that's going on in your area that's going to require, that could potentially require connection to the sanitary sewer line, and we know that you are in a private sewer line. We'd like to have a meeting with you to discuss what some of these options are that may impact all 13 properties. So you do that, and then you set the date and time for it.
actually,
There, and then if you want to do the survey after that, after people understand, because I think if you send out a letter that just says this is what's going on, I think people are going to be confused.
Well, and I think the question is too, are all 13 of them aware that some of their neighbors have contacted the township about this? Or is it just
I would
a couple
say
of
the
them?
people that are having problems have talked to each other. I know that. I don't know about the
But
people
like
that
the
aren't
ones-
having problems.
Okay, that's my question,
We did have a
are the
fire
people-
too, and there's one house that had a fire. They reached out and said, "Can we hook the?"
5378.
Yeah.
The fire.
So they had to hook back up to their septic, and then I think they had to do some repairs. But I'd like to offer a third option.
Sure.
So what we do with sewer easements is we send them an easement, and we strongly recommend, because of the disturbance on your property, that you schedule a meeting with our engineer and staff to go over that. So what we could do is send the survey and say, please schedule a meeting with us. Here's our phone number or an email. Contact us. That could work as well. That's the personal contact that you're looking for.
I think having the group together has some advantages.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I agree with
All
you,
right,
Alan.
If
Yeah.
they want that, maybe this has come up before and they don't feel comfortable. I just want to leave some leeway here that there might be things we're not thinking of. Maybe
I'd like to get the engineer's the engineers have worked on this before. Honestly, I've been doing this for 40 years. It's the first time I've ever done a project like this. So I don't know. I'll defer to the engineers, but I like Mr. McCormick's idea. I don't know, Jason or Melissa, you have any thoughts?
I like Mr. McCormick's idea as well, but I also think, we should offer at least a private consultation, because, like, I just don't want someone to feel like they're ganged up on, like, hey, we've got issues, you don't, but,
You could be the swing vote in which
Yeah.
everybody has to buy it or
Yes.
everyone doesn't. So, but
So do
a
both.
little mixture
Yeah.
of each, I think that would be great.
Okay.
Sounds like we have a plan.
Good.
We will march to the orders.
All right. If there's no other questions under that, let's go to township reports. All the letters are running together here. I think it says P3E
PC3.
project PC. It
Yes.
says P3E project letter schedule update.
Yeah, that's
HRG comments PDF.
Yes,
All
Mr.
right.
Chairman, members of the board. Again, at the board's direction, we are providing more communication. We've always had a powerful website. Actually, I have to give Tim Nold, our Public Works Director, all the credit here, because he's the one that really pushed this for years with our new GIS manager. So we have this Lower Paxton at Work site that's very powerful, and we have 6 projects on there right now. And basically, you can go on there, look at the work area, and see which work zone you're in. And if you want have updates, then you just send us an email to My New Sewer, and then we'll send them an email of any schedule changes or any updates. And then this is providing just more information about the project, what to expect. We give them the good and the bad. This is what we do at the public meetings, because we've heard it from the residents in BC7. So we're letting them know, expect noise, dust, stone, temporary paving, drive slowly. So we basically advise them to be aware and be patient. So that's really it in a nutshell. We'll be sending out these for all future projects. We have another one coming up. Actually, we have the Interceptor project we'll talk about in a few minutes, that we'll be sending out a letter on that as well.
Okay. Any questions on the letter? All right, up to now, update on the current PADP consent decree, construction projects, and DP annual meeting.
Yes, board members, as typical fashion, we put in the whole slideshow. But we can certainly, in the effort of time, just go through these quickly. Just wanted to point out the first one is what is the most important. Is 100. I asked GHD to start putting together what the program costs are. I was doing it on my own, honestly, and I wasn't doing it right. I hate to admit it. I was using the Mrs. Lindsay's always asking about our debt, and so I was using that, and it doesn't. There's a lot of backstory on that, but it doesn't. I was with them 2 or 3%. So Melissa has actual bid numbers, and we have all the other costs involved. So right now we're at $125 million. And you can see that that money has been spent very well, because we removed, 90% of the I&I and most basins up to 100. And we're about $3 a gallon. Mr. Horning, who used to be on the board, gave us that target. We have that in all of our basins and all of our reports. So we're doing very well there. Going down to the third slide there, one more, I'm sorry. This was something that we went over with DEP. It gets very confusing, and we had a lot of new people. We had Tim Wagner was our specialist that was assigned to our consent decree. So we wanted to explain to DEP sort of our nomenclature, what we call a wet weather event. It's minor, significant, extreme, and a flood level. The flood level is what we don't have to live to. That's the red, and that's excused by DEP, but the extreme, we have to. That's the difficulty now, is with these storm events getting more intense, the bar has been raised as far as what event that we have to meet. So I just wanted to provide some of that nomenclature, and the next slide describes that. The next slide just shows that red line. You see it keep going up. So unfortunately, in the yellow line, that's what we have to achieve. We have to achieve no overflows at that storm event level, and that makes it more difficult to capture that I&I. So fortunately for us, we're at 100% I&I removal. With the corrective action plans that we're looking at, we hope to achieve what this chart shows is basically that we can't have any overflows above that yellow line. You can see the ones around the red line, and those are excused, but we can't have any blocks above that yellow. And we've been pretty good at that. So the next slide just shows all the events that we successfully captured over time that we didn't do so well. Now, 20 years later, we only have a few overflows left, and we can successfully capture almost every wet weather event. That's basically what that slide shows. Next slide just shows that we have 4 overflows remaining. We started with over 100.
It's amazing. It is unbelievable. I mean, I remember
Yeah.
20 years ago, we were having every storm we were having an overflow.
Yep.
Especially along Nye Road in that area. I mean, it was really bad. It is really quite amazing how much I&I we've taken out of the system.
It certainly is. If you keep scrolling down, Mr. Chairman, to the 2021 approved BC cap, it's keep going down right there. Next one. So this is currently where we're at. We have the green represents what's been completed, and the yellow is what's under construction. Melissa is really stingy. I mean, we're really done in BC7, but she kept it on there because we know from the residents tonight that it's not technically completed. So that is our corrective action plan. Moving forward, we have to come up with a new corrective action plan. So really, you can scroll all the way down to the end. And at the end, we can
All the way to the end of this thing?
Oh, yeah, I just it's in your packet, and I can certainly answer any questions. At Paxton Creek, there's really nothing to go over. You can skip over that because we have one project we're doing, Claremont. Enough said. All the way at the end, you'll see that we have what's planned in 2025. So we have the sanitary sewer work is complete. That's the summary. For BC7, Paxton Creek, we're working in Claremont. We're going to be doing the trunk line that I mentioned, and 2E, 2F, we'll be sending that letter out. And in Spring Creek, we're just doing flow analysis. We're just barely in compliance with Spring Creek. We're in good shape for a while since we put that gate valve in, if you recall. But, however, we have, 5-10 years from now, you have to plan years in advance. So there's flow metering that needs to be done, and you have to plan projects out so you have them prepared for when you're out of compliance. So these are the action items remaining. We have the Beaver Creek remaining capacity program evaluation. We had this new specialist that has agreed to consider looking at design storms, which is sort of earth moving for us because right now we're living to that line that I showed you on that graph, that if it's not declared an emergency by the governor, then you have to keep all your sewer in your pipe. So this new idea is to have this capacity evaluation done by a design storm. So we'll see how that plays out. GHD is going to meet with, I want to get Tim involved because he's an engineer and he'll be taking over for me when I retire soon. So I'd like him to get involved in the modeling up front so he understands it. So Melissa and Alton and Tim and I are going to be meeting in late January. And then Paxton Creek, once that project is complete, then we do the same thing. We evaluate the impact of that project and any overflow potential. And again, in Spring Creek, we just have to address the trunk sewer. We have 2 mini basins that, from recent flow metering, does show that these mini basins would be your next project. However, there's no development in Spring Creek. As you're aware, that's pretty much built out. There's not a need to create capacity for growth right now. So we're sort of just waiting to see if the flows increase at all. If they do, then we're going to continue to flow meter. But right now, they're the 2 mini basins we believe would be next. And that's really it. I'll be happy to answer any questions on the DEP annual meeting and GHD and staff's presentation.
Any questions for Bill? All right, that was well done, Bill. All right, on to the Sewer Authority Q3 financial package. Everybody have a chance to review this by chance?
Yeah, board members, just briefly, As Sam analyzed in the budget review for the last 3 years, this is pretty much the same. The revenues and interest earnings are up, so you can see 265%. That's really our bread and butter right now is sewer rental and interest earnings and tapping fees. You're exceeding your revenues, and we're on track for 24 compared to the actual in 23. That's basically what that shows is that we still are on target for 24 at 18.4 million, and 23 was similar at this point, 14.4. Down to expenses. Again, there's some changes that you asked about, Mr. Blaine, that are different here because of how the auditor wanted to see the payroll, and I think we addressed those. Again, as Sam pointed out in the budget slideshow, the biggest issues in your budget are debt service. That's 30% of your budget. Then SWAT-ERA and the city make up the other 30%. So 60% of your expenses are basically debt service and payroll and your transmission treatment costs. So those are remaining pretty consistent other than, the increases with CRW and SWAT-ERA. So overall, again, these expenses with debt service, of course, that's the no-brainer there. They send us the bill and we have to pay it. So,
Yeah, I mean, overall, looking at the financial report, there's nothing here that's a surprise. The expense side seems to be pretty stable. On the revenue side, we see some increases and upticks because of interest. Outside of that, there's not really that much here that I would say is of any concern. If we're tracking on budget, we should end the year pretty close to budget, which has allowed us to establish our budget for next year consistently. So we should be good. Any questions from anybody on the financial analysis? Okay. Hearing none, on to the exciting engineers report. Are you excited? You ready?
I am ready.
You're so excited.
I was so excited I
Yeah, I know
couldn't
you
turn
are.
on my microphone.
I know.
All right.
All right, here we go.
All right.
Engineers report.
So Bill has already talked a little bit about the annual report. The only thing I really wanted to bring up on that end was we are very excited that DEP is going to entertain the Design Storm event because a lot of the flood level definitions revolved around local flooding and things. And with all the extra work you guys are doing with stormwater, it's getting a little bit harder for the local flooding. And we didn't want to see you guys get penalized for actually improving your township. So DEP, like I said, agreed to the design storm. So we're working on some modeling for that, and Alton will probably be here the next meeting to go over that.
Okay.
So modeling. Oh, the surcharge monitoring, that's on there. At the meeting, we discussed with DEP that we're going to be moving a couple of the monitoring locations, primarily to in Spring Creek, and that's just due to the success you've had with the projects. The areas we were monitoring for surcharging no longer surcharge. So, we're moving some of those monitoring locations. As Bill said, some of the areas, that area is older. I think it was built probably in the 40s or 50s. So, it's going to start deteriorating a little bit more. So we're keeping an eye on that and planning for the future.
Okay. Anything you want to talk about in the wet weather summary? Or no?
No,
Good.
the wet weather summary.
I was going to say we didn't really have a lot of wet weather over the last 90 days, so.
No, there hasn't been a lot.
Yeah.
And there's been no overflows, which is also a good thing. But like you said, there hasn't been a lot of rainfall.
Bond drawdown.
Bond drawdown. So as Bill alluded to, we were working with Bill and just staff and figuring out when the next bond issue is going to be needed. I think he mentioned that it's going to be probably needed closer to the end of 2026. And that's primarily due to the PC2E2F trunk line that got added after that homeowner reported the overflows that were happening on his property, and the miscellaneous projects. Your
Right.
staff has been going out and they televise, and if anything comes up, customer complaints, things like that, they go out and they TV the lines, monitor everything. And so you find some things in the system that need to be fixed. They found some areas that are scoring high on the NASCO reports, which is just the rating system for defects in the system. So to be proactive, they wanted to take care of those so that they didn't get any worse or collapse or anything and have some problems for the homeowners. So that's why the bond money is going to be running out a little bit sooner than we originally anticipated.
Okay.
Bill, did you want to
Do you want to pull that up, Mr. Chairman? It's all the way at the end of her report. It's a nice long spreadsheet that you may not be able to blow up so we can keep going.
No, it's there.
Yeah,
that's
we
the
don't
end of the
have
report.
it. Yeah.
Oh.
That's the report,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's probably right
Oh, it's
here.
in a separate file, yep. There you go.
Oh, good Lord.
I know. I brought it up here and went, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's,
well, we don't have to go to that minutia. All I wanted to do is to make sure that
There
you
you
know that it's been done by your engineer. We believe it's very accurate. The bad news is it shows that you're going to run out of money at the end of next year. That's usually crisis. We get PFM in, we start looking at borrowing money. So Sam has some great ideas, and two of them we'll be looking at next year. One will require your solicitor. He that's not his first option. Right now it shows that you could borrow money from the stormwater fund, and then when you're ready to borrow money for stormwater and sewer, you just do it together. After I already did this presentation, Sam said, "Well, I have a better idea. If you just use we have $22 million in reserves that we just showed you. You could just steal money from the reserves and pay it back, or just doing another analysis that way as well." So that's what we're going to be looking at. We don't want to bring PFM in next year and start looking at borrowing more money. That doesn't, when we show you this in conjunction with your rate model, if you bring down new debt, then you're going to have to increase rates, and we know the board doesn't want to do that. So we're being creative financially to try to minimize the impact to the ratepayers. That's essentially what this does, is just populate all your projects and tells you when you're going to run out of money. This is just showing all the projects, drawing money for each month from the contractors, the engineers, and at the end of the day, there's your end balance. So we have had this drawdown done
Just a note,
Yeah.
as an individual member of this board, I prefer we use the word borrow rather than steal. Steal
Oh,
has such
okay.
negative
That's
connotations.
very true. I'll tell Shelley to reflect the minutes that way. I don't know, Melissa. You want to go back to your engineer's report? If there's no other questions on the drawdown, do you have anything else in the engineer's report you want to go over?
Yes, please.
You tell me where you want to go on the engineer's report.
All right. So construction projects, BC7, we've already discussed that. The trunk line, that work is going to be starting at the beginning of the year. They might be clearing towards the end of the year, so that's why we wanted to get the letters out sooner than later. The miscellaneous repairs is under the same contract as PC2 trunk line. The way we staggered that contract, they're doing the trunk line first, and then they'll be doing the external repairs, so you'll see packed throughout the township. BC2A, 2B, 2C, this project's done. But as part of your permits with DEP, you have to monitor the wetlands and the wetland plantings. There were some forested wetlands that I think we either replaced or moved a couple. I'm not very good with plants. But anyways, the plants that were planted due to the drought and things this summer, a decent portion of them have died. So we need to go back in there and replant those to reestablish those wetlands.
Okay.
We already discussed the Wilshire Road. Peterborough Road property, that's one I wanted Heather to stick around for too. That property has been having a failing on-lot system, and we have suggested that they tie into the public sewer by a grinder pump there, because the sewer terminates on, like, in front of the property next to them. So it's only a couple 100 feet from where their property line is. And that household
On
is...
Peterborough Road.
Yeah, there's no sewer there.
On Peterborough
half.
at all?
Yeah, right off of Rutherford. There's this little pocket where
Yeah, I
they
used
stop
to-
running the sewer there.
Yeah, I lived on Rutherford Road, so I
okay.
had friends back on that in that neighborhood.
So this issue, just some insight from staff and Heather. can answer questions if need be. But this came up 7 years ago. Heather had to send this notification, and then they moved people out. So basically, the system is overloaded because of the occupants and the residents. So then they moved the people back in. Heather just reached out to him again, and ironically, she sent an email to Jim and I yesterday asking for us to meet. Because I did send her the same information we went over for Wilshire, that you can get a low interest loan through Penvest. So I was hoping to reach her to say, hey, look, you got to do this. Otherwise, you're looking at legal issues, potential fines, that kind of thing. Because the next step is your solicitor is giving us options on sending a violation letter with some pretty stiff penalties. So now that she sent an email, that's great news. We can meet with her and hopefully get them to hook to sewer, because they decided to move these people in, and the neighbor is the one that complained of having sewer coming out to clean out because
I was just going to say, how could you find out that there was an on-lot issue?
Heather,
So it
do you
came
wanna-
from the neighbor. Okay.
So this has been an ongoing problem, mainly seems attributed to the number of people living in the home. They have multiple families in a single-family dwelling. Obviously, the septic system is sized for a certain amount of flow. You always give someone an opportunity to fix an issue like this, and this issue has abated over the years, either through, it seems to be more of a seasonal nature as well, that in the wet spring, this will appear, and either through, I know at some point some family members moved out of the house and then returned. So at times it has dried up, and speaking with the neighbor, but the issue is based on just the topography, the overflow tends to flow onto the neighbor's property, right into his property line. So that's when we get.
That's how you found out? I was
Correct,
like,
the
how in the
complaint.
world would you find out that it was?
Correct.
Okay.
And there's some language barrier as well with the occupancy of the home. So it's been a struggle to get in touch with the correct person. I have not been out there recently, but I would guesstimate that is probably dry now because of the drought that we've been in. But it also depends on how many people have been living in the home and what their water use is. And we've tried to talk to them about water use. I mean, like you do with anyone, talk about you can't do 10 loads of laundry over the weekend when you have a septic system. You have to spread that water use out and different things they can do. But when you have that many people living in the home, that's kind of a moot
Were
point.
they not keeping it pumped on a regular basis either?
They
Does
were
that have any
pumping it,
issue
but then
with
they
it
were
or
having some
not?
issues where they had to pump it more frequently.
Okay.
I think there was a backup at one point that they had to have on like a holiday. I know they had. The neighbor told me. Again, a lot of the communication comes from the neighbor because there really isn't great communication from the property owner.
Yeah, I think I know what property it is now. Okay. All right, moving on.
Heather, can you turn that mic off? It's giving an echo.
Sure.
What else would you like to cover? Emergency repairs to the wastewater system and stormwater collection system?
Sure. There was a recent work order on Stafford Road due to, Jim, could you explain that one a little bit? I think there was a homeowner complaint on Stafford for the work order 3.
A homeowner had called in with a complaint of sewer backing out of the house or into the house, and we went out and investigated, and it turned out that the sewer main was actually collapsed, so prevented it from causing further damage into the house. So we had to get that repaired immediately.
And then we're not going to have Locust Lane paved till next fall, okay?
Nope, I wanted to leave that one on there just so it doesn't disappear. The standard specs, we are working with staff just to update those periodically. You find things that you want to update and change, or new products and things come out, old model numbers get retired. So we're working on those with township staff and hope to have that document finalized for the board's approval in May.
We have to add stormwater in there as well now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought the
That's
state
the
was
new
going to
thing
do the
is that-
stormwater
yeah.
first, yeah.
We have to have provisions in there that you dedicate stormwater to the authority now.
Okay. Landfill meter.
Alton is working with staff on that one. The meter tends to accumulate some settlement of just different items that are coming out of the landfill, which makes the flume reading a little bit inaccurate. So township staff does go out and periodically clean that, but just the way it gets read, it seems to be a little bit of over billing for the landfill. So we're working through to figure out a solution for that.
So just one comment or a few comments on that, because this, I don't think the board knows anything about this. It's been an issue that's been going on for a long time. Probably about 7, 8 years ago, we were approached by the township, the authority, to say, hey, what can we do about this bill? Every time it rains, the landfill flows go up, because that's what creates the landfill leachate, obviously. What we looked at with Jeff Wendell at the time was, well, the landfill goes right into Swadera's system. It's not really using our collection system. Jeff came up with this formula that we could discharge the township the Swadera costs. So he has this formula. So when you see the next time we raise rates, we haven't done it for a while, but the landfill has a special rate. It's half of what the residents pay, a little more than half. So that helped out the landfill for a while. What we found out from our meter guy, he's like, Bill, this meter doesn't work. It's, when that sediment in this leachate builds up in the flume, it artificially raises the level, which means the township is paying more. So Outland came up with this correlation factor to show, okay, we don't have to bill the township as much because we can see that. And then it automatically flushes during a storm too as well sometimes. But in any event, the reason I'm going to this length to explain it to you, there is a lot of money at stake, not only for the township bill, but for the authority that we didn't realize. That landfill flow is part of your total EDUs that you send to the authority, Swadera. Their budget is an estimate of total EDUs coming from Lower Paxton, and then that's what they charge you each year and quarterly. So that landfill EDU value that's so high is inflating our total cost to Swadera. So we're going to try to do this correlation factor just to help the township. That's off the table now because Swadera is not going to agree to our engineer's correlation factor. They're going to want to see real metering results. So it's going to be a tough analysis because we may actually have to do some sewer work there and move a meter to make it work, and that may cost you money up front but save you lots of money over 10 or 20. There's going to be a payback involved. So we have to have GHD go out, meet with our staff, and get down to some minutiae there. So you're going to be hearing a lot about that, over the next 6 months to a year. But it's a good thing because at the end of the day, we hope to save money.
And to be clear, Bill, this is all about metering and measuring and billing, not the actual getting the bad stuff away.
No.
And treating and environmental and all
Well,
that
that's
stuff.
another option, actually. That was my idea that was not supported by a lot of people because my idea was to trap all that sediment, but they're saying, well, what's it going to cost to dispose of it? So we're still looking at that because maybe it's not as contaminated as we think. Jason's firm does more about your sewer engineer does the flow metering. Your township engineer is the one that's in charge of the landfill. So we'll actually be including both engineers. They're going to give us a discount.
And bottom line, we're going to meet all the environmental requirements.
Yes,
With
we are.
throughout
Well,
this
the landfill. I can't speak to the landfill because Jason does the monitoring for that. But the sewer flow at the treatment plant from the leachate is in compliance. We have a permit for that. To answer your question, that's the sewer flow. There's other compliance issues.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that I give you some. So when this comes out, at least you have a little bit of background.
All right, Bill, last thing is developments. Anything you want to add here?
No, I think Bill kind of explained where all the development was occurring within the township, so just if you have any questions on any of those, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions from anybody on the engineer's report?
Well, just the proposed restaurants, the Wingstop and the Raising Cane's, just concerned about out there at Parkchester. Remember when we used to have issues with the grease from, what was it, the Country Buffet?
Oh, yeah. I remember the grease issues there.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, we have memories.
We used to love those grease issues, didn't we, Bill?
We did. With a lot of chicken places, we have Raising Cane and Wingstop. They do have to get approval from GHD. They have to have a certified grease trap installed. So,
Because they're really close to each other too, so.
yep, we will be keeping an eye on them.
Do we still have that station out there at Parkchester?
Yeah, we do.
Do we? Okay.
But Old Country Buffet is not there, so it actually
Right.
took our grease problem away, right, Jim?
Right.
Oh, country buffet, man, let me tell you.
Maybe we need to do, it's been a couple years, and we have some new board members. Maybe in the spring, we need to do a road tour. We haven't done one for 2.
We love road tours. Staff loves road tours.
I'm just saying, we have, Alan's new, I don't know if Dave was on the last road tour, but it's been a couple years. It's interesting. See what's happening, what's going on.
Love road tour.
We love road tour.
You gonna
We'll
drive?
be happy.
You
I
driving or
always
am I
drive.
driving?
Well, you can drive if you want, but
Remember-
I got to get your license.
Remember when Mr. Hoffer used to drive?
He did.
Oh, man.
He scared people.
He was scary when he used to drive.
Yeah, but who got us stuck out at?
I know. I was as directed
Forge
though.
Park.
I was directed to drive down there.
They all got out with their suits on because we were stuck and were pushing. Even Mr. Hawk, rest his soul.
He did. He got out and pushed.
Probably what killed him.
All right. All right, so if there's no other comments on the engineer's report, let's go to the stormwater fund. So the first item is presentation and action on 2025 stormwater fund budget. We actually got a presentation on that already from Mr. Weaver, correct, Mr. Weaver?
Yeah, I'll just point out that, again, the total proposed budget for 25 is $3,639,000 in revenues. And your total expenses for 2025 are estimated at
Stormwater fund sewer operating expenses, 3.446 million,
correct. Thank you.
ending with financial reserve of 7,409,000.
Correct. So again, the budget as proposed does show that our revenues do exceed our expenses, and we're in good shape, and we'll have the rate model, but no rate increase, as we have plenty of financial reserves, and we have revenues that exceed expenditures. That really sums it up. I'll be happy to answer any questions, though, on the budget.
Yeah, we have capital fund reserves of 470 in the budget. That's what's projected.
Again, yes, just the note on the capital is this is the most aggressive we've been.
$4.8 million in
That's
projects.
that's the most aggressive we've been. 4.8 million in capital. HRG is very busy doing a lot of designs. You're going to be seeing a lot of bids come out in 2025 and 26.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of projects here you can
Yep.
see.
Smaller than what you used to see with sewer, but still a lot of projects.
Any questions for Bill on the storm sewer budget? So again, to summarize, there is no rate increase, which is the key thing here.
Yes.
We don't foresee to have to do a rate increase anytime soon either. So, okay. Any questions from anybody on the board relating to the storm sewer budget? Okay, hearing none, is there a motion to approve the final 2025 stormwater budget?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. McCormick. Is there a second?
Second.
I would give it to Mr. Judd. He snuck it in on you there, Mr. Navarro. Sorry about that. Sorry. So Mr. Judd's a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. I think we can get a voice vote on this. All those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So carried. Next item, action on the Ratu Engineering Services proposal for the Mountain View Acres Stormwater Improvement Project.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, as you may recall, the Public Works Director, Mr. Nolt, works with the stormwater engineer to propose projects that he feels are needed in the township. This Mountain View Acres Stormwater Improvement Project is needed mostly because the roads are in such awful shape. There's actually grass growing up in some of the roads. It's been going on for so long that Tim did alert me that with the delays here with this project getting started, they do have to do some patching out there and some scratch coating. They're getting a lot of complaints from the residents. So one of the driving forces of these projects is road improvements. As part of the road improvements, you have to do the stormwater with it. This project was originally designed in-house by our old engineer, John Shearer. Ratu, as you may recall, was one of our highest ranked engineering firms when we did an RFP for Colonial Park, which was awarded to HRG. Because of all the work with HRG and all the bond money to spend and the need to get this project out right away, Mr. Nolt recommended that we get a proposal from Ratu. We provided them Mr. Shear's CAD drawing, and Mr. Nous is here to answer any questions, but they gave us a proposal to complete Mountain View Acres. What design would be complete in 2025, and this would not be bid, 2026. This would not be bid. This would be done by the in-house crew, and their total proposed fees are $58,725. I'll be happy to answer any questions. I think
Any
Mike,
questions for Mr. Weaver before
Mike, you want to say a few things about the project?
why don't you give us your full name and everything? So,
Good evening, authority members. Mike Nass with Route 2 Associates. We were pleased to meet with staff and have the opportunity to give you this.
Mike, turn the mic on there. Yeah, thanks.
Sorry. Pleased to give you this proposal. Being a resident of the township, I know it's a challenge to keep up with the many miles of infrastructure that you have, as well as the roads. So we believe it's a fair and appropriate proposal, covers all the bases, all the way through design to coordinating with your township crew as far as the construction. And we'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
okay. Any questions for the representative from Ratu? All right, hearing none. Any questions for staff?
I just have a question. Did HRG, they are engineer, did they not get a chance to bid on this?
I was not a bid. We just did an RFP for Colonial Park, and because it's such a small project, we didn't. There's a lot that goes in, time and effort for staff to issue an RFP, time and effort for engineers to submit RFPs. Since we just did one a few months earlier, that's why your Public Works Director recommended, hey, we just interviewed all these engineers. We have someone right now that can do this project. Let's just go ahead and move ahead, because he was getting a lot of pressure from the public because of the road system. So there was no really, it's a professional service, so you don't have to bid it. Yeah.
Okay, well, with the professional service, we do use HRG. I would have thought that maybe we could have contacted them also, so. And nothing against Ratu. Nothing against Ratu.
I think, again, the reason the Public Works Director suggested it is that there's a need to get the project done quickly, and HRG already has a lot of projects that they're juggling right now with staff. So this allows you, another engineer, to get a project running in parallel. So the theory is you have two people working in parallel, you get work done faster. That was, at least from staff, the idea behind that.
I'm going to put Jason on the spot. Would you have been able to handle this?
No, we certainly understand staff's perspective and opinion on it. I mean, you guys know that you're definitely a priority for us, and we would make sure that the project would be a priority as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on the matter? All right, hearing none. Is there a...
I'm sorry.
Yes.
But just for procedure, I apologize. I did not provide a memo on this, and there's a lot of questions that are unanswered. Just procedurally, the board has the option to do nothing. Public Works Director would not recommend that because of the condition of the roads. The other option is you award the proposal as presented tonight to Ratu. The other option is that if you vote no, then HRG would be recommended to do it, because Tim said this is pretty much an emergency. So I wanted to just tell you those are the three options. Of course, staff recommends, that we approve Ratu to get this project moving. But there are three options: do nothing, award it to Ratu, or deny the proposal from Ratu and award it to HRG.
So you said, though, the do nothing option, then we would have HRG do the work, correct? Or nothing at this point?
Well, do nothing, it means you're not designing it, so you're not even working on the project. Tim would not recommend that. That's why staff isn't recommending. I'm just saying the board always has the do nothing option. we don't recommend it. But we basically present projects, staff and the engineer that we think are needed. So this is a project that's needed, but you always have the option to do nothing. It's a minor expense for engineering at $56,000, but again, just wanted to provide the options there. The board can award this agreement contract to Ratu, if you don't do it, you already have an engineer on staff, so that Tim was going to likely come back to the board and say, hey, let's just go with R2 or with HRG because we got to get it done. So I just wanted to provide what options you had.
I guess I'm confused. I'm confused, Bill. So did you say you guys can do the work?
Yeah, I mean, we would meet whatever schedule that the authority, township staff would like for the project. Feel like
Jason,
we
did
have the
Tim
capacity
discuss
to
it
do
with
that.
you, by any chance? Are you
Not
hearing?
not in detail. We haven't seen the CAD drawings that were put together. We don't fully know what the entire scope of the project is. Just kind of have an understanding of that area and the condition of it.
So staff did not discuss it with you? Is that what you're saying?
No, not in any kind of detail where we could give a proposal to do the work.
Well, to be clear on that, Mr. Chairman, again, staff's recommendation was to get another engineer to work in parallel. That's why HRG was not contacted about the project, because your public works director wants to get this done quick, and he just felt if you had another engineer working on it in parallel with HRG, we just had a meeting today with HRG on 2 projects. So that's where their theory was, okay, you have a team over here, you get work done quicker.
Yeah, we
So-
talked about this for a
that's-
little bit now, and I always understood it as there's a lot of work to be done, and there's enough work to spread around, and this is what the staff recommends, so.
Yeah,
let's
but I'm just
do
saying
it
you
and
do
get
have
the-
options. I mean, that just wanted to present those. It's the board's pleasure. That's just staff recommendation, so I just wanted to be
I
clear.
do remember us having conversation about this, whether or not it made sense to, at least a small project like this, evaluate another engineering firm and evaluate the kind of work and the quality of work that we received. And I'm not opposed to this at all. I understand that HRG does a lot of work for us and we're satisfied with that work, but for less than $60,000 to get a project done that appears to be an emergency, and to also at the same time gain understanding and familiarity with another engineering firm can't be a bad thing.
Okay. Any other further comments from anybody? All right, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the actions on the R2 engineering services proposal for the Mountain View Acres Stormwater Improvement Project?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Judd. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Zumas. Any further discussion? Let's do this by roll call vote, if we could, please.
Mr. Zumas?
Hey.
Mrs. Lindsay?
No.
Mr. Judd?
Aye.
Mr. Navarro?
Aye.
Mr. McCormick?
Yes.
Mr. Ramsey?
Aye.
Mr. Blank?
Aye. Motion's approved. All right, moving on to the approval of the ICA Task Order 2024-01 for the MS4 JPRP Greenbelt Project.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, this task order is a part of our ICA with the township and CRW and Susquehanna. We are all partners to our joint pollution reduction program. I'll provide a more detailed presentation under township reports, but essentially this task order is needed to authorize CRW as the coordinator of the group to have the Parkway Creek Restoration Phase 3 Capital Area Greenbelt Association project funding from our group for $100,000. Our share is based on the percentage. It's on the second page. It's based on our impervious surface, which is 57%. That's $57,000. This amount is in your approved budget that you just approved for 2025. We need the authority to approve it because you're the funding mechanism. We will also need the township to approve it at their next board meeting if the authority approves it tonight, because they are actually the party to the ICA. HRG and staff recommend this project. We have our sediment reduction credits needed for our permit cycle. However, this project will have credits that DEP allows to carry over to your next permit cycle. I'll be happy to answer any questions on the task order.
Any questions for Mr. Weaver on the task order here for the Greenbelt? Anything from anybody? Any questions? All right, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve the ICA task order 2024-01 for the MS4 JPRP Greenbelt project?
So moved.
So moved by Mr. Zumas. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Navarro. Did you sneak one in there? Nice. All right, we got a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none. I think we did this by voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? So carried. All right, township reports. Here we go.
Yes.
How about an update on the DEP JRP MS4 project?
Yes, board members, no written report. I do have a presentation that Larry provided on the stormwater crew that I'll provide next. But just briefly on the joint PRP, is just mentioned the total credits for our permit cycle have been achieved. After the modeling is complete, it'll be verified by DEP, but your permit expires in July 2025. So we had significant savings with partnering with PennDOT, so that's a good thing. So we don't have any projects in the chute right now other than the one you disapproved for the Capital Greenbelt. The project that was in Lower Paxton that I'm sure the board is aware just completed was the McIntosh project. They did the final seeding of the park. The park remains closed. They kept the fencing up. It looks like there's something still going on because they kept the fencing up, but Tim and Rachel decided to do that just to let the grass grow. So that concludes my report on the joint PRP. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for him on that? All right, let's go to the Lower Paxton Township Crew Project Schedule and Completed Work 2024 presentation.
Yes, board members. Again, Larry was not able to make it tonight. He is enjoying his Thanksgiving holiday and has to travel, so he is on vacation this week. He has been gracious enough to provide the board a presentation of all the work that the crew has done in 2024. You can see on the first slide the list of all the streets on the right.
If I can get it to come up.
There we go.
There we go. Now we're talking.
Yes, the second slide there will show the list of streets that we've completed the work. I'm sure the board has heard of these projects over time. The next slide just talks about the crew. What is the crew? It's 5 members. You may recall that Jim actually was the crew leader way back when we started the crew. We did private sewers. Because of the cost of stormwater, it was much more efficient to do stormwater work, and the savings are much higher. You can see our costs are about $300 a foot. He didn't show what it is from a contractor, but a contractor is about $450 a foot. So that adds up. For every foot of storm sewer you're doing, you're saving $150. Over the next 5 years, the savings could be in the millions. It's just a home run in terms of the crew and what they're equipped with and the capabilities. I had no idea that we had staff that had that kind of skill level. Honestly, when I did this, I thought it was risky. But the crew has just done a phenomenal job. You go down to these next slides. Basically what Larry's provided is the work that each project that we achieved. These shows the before and after, and a lot of these are just simple stormwater replacements. So the first one is just the new inlets that were installed in the paving. We do, again, work with Public Works on the restoration. Devonshire Heights Road, you're familiar with this because this is part of the BC7 project. This was a busy area. We had a lot of stormwater issues on this road, and Jason and his firm designed a lot of stormwater improvements on this road. Whitley Drive sewer repair. This was a stormwater repair, excuse me. This was an under drain that failed. There's some major water issues up in that Hunt Club area, some underwater drainage area issues. There's a lot of differential settlement. So this stormwater system failed, and the property owner right in front of this area advised us he had to do a ton of work on his private system. But this job was done in July, you can see. Crumbs Mill near Larrabee. This was again designed by HRG and done by staff. You can see the outlet structure they put in. and the culvert replacement was actually reported by a board member, Mr. Ramsey. So they replaced this culvert, and we had a subcontractor, I believe, Jim, do the railing, correct? We just dug the post for the railing. They put in the new guide railing. And then Kenwood, that again is BC7. That was part of that stormwater improvements. Crumbs Mill near Commerce Park, that's close to where we had our property, and we do still have a property there. Ironically, we didn't have to get an easement from ourselves. So you can see this outfall structure is actually on township property. Our crew put in this new stormwater system on Crumbs Mill Road by Commerce.
I was actually on that road today. They did a good job.
Yeah. And then Kenwood, again, part 2. We got part 1 and part 2, like a movie. Did good work there as well. And Utah Avenue, emergency repair. I'm sure the township knows all about this. For the authority members, you don't know about it. We had over 3.3 inches of rain in one day, which is a 75-year storm event. All this water conveys right to this area here. And it's such extreme water force that it totally washed out the side of the road, and you can see the embankment. So our crew actually came to the rescue, and they performed a temporary repair. They put in, correct me, Jim, was it 2A, or what was the large stone that they used? R5s. They put down these massive stones over the bank and reinstated the guide rail. Jason, it's in your stormwater budget, is actually meeting with us soon to start designing a stormwater system so we can try to properly convey some of the water that has been damaging this road for quite some time. Oak Avenue storm. This was actually me. I was out driving around and noticed a massive storm ponding in our brand new project. And we apparently did not have complaints from the residents, but it would have destroyed the brand new road that we just put in. So actually, Larry engineered this himself and had the crew put it in. And now he's happy to report over the last 2 rain events, there's no ponding. There was basically a huge pond down there. So that was Oak. Wilshire, again, this is a stormwater township report, but for the sewer part, we do a lot of work on the sewer side that I didn't report tonight. But this just came up last week. Jim got a call that we had a force main that was leaking, and I guess it was going into the storm sewer, right, Jim?
No, it didn't make it in.
But someone from the public saw it on the surface.
The property owner.
The property owner.
When their pump ran.
So Jim and his staff went out and located the leak, and our guys said, hey, look, we can save a lot of money. You issue a work order to our Rogel, who is our emergency contractor. You pay tens of thousands of dollars to do this. They went out and did it in a day, probably saved $20,000. So this is what they did. They basically did this repair on the force main. Old Locust Lane, this is a bridge that failed, and rather than bid the project, again, it's just amazing that the capabilities of this crew. You can see in these photos what they did here. They basically rebuilt the whole culvert.
So that is open to the public now?
Unfortunately, we have to do a sewer repair. Well,
Oh, because I saw the sign
yeah,
there that still says road
the
closed.
culvert's
That's why I'm
done, but they can't pave it right now.
Okay.
But they're gonna base pave it, I believe, Jim, in the spring, correct?
Yes, they have to do the sewer repair.
Yes.
Okay, so that's why the sign's still there.
Yes, so as part of this work, we TV'd the sewer. So we do these projects together. We TV'd the sewer since we're in there to make sure, and then sure enough, the sewer was in bad shape, so we replaced that. So
the residents that live there can still use it, but
yeah, but we would hope to have the road open, Jim, in a few weeks, right?
I'm not sure what this is going to be.
Okay.
Okay.
With regard to that, Larry apologizes, but he does show his schedule here for the rest of
2024 and 25 and 26. And you can see, we just talked about Mountain View Acres. That's basically, that in Claremont is a lot of work, and this crew, now they show their talent. The schedule will be changed 15 times because someone's got to pull them to go do a job. It happens almost every other day. But this is our schedule for now. Any questions on Larry's report?
No, but please tell him he did a great job.
He certainly did.
The before and after is great.
And the whole crew, every time you talk about this, I'm impressed. It's
amazing.
just got a great team.
Yep.
Just the one job that I am familiar with, I actually walked down and saw Jim down at Larrabee on Crumbs Mill, and they actually finished before it was scheduled to be done. I walked down just to see if the road was open yet. They were opening it up as I walked past, so
Good job, guys.
kudos.
Yeah. Kudos to them.
All right, any further comments on that presentation? If there is none, let's go to the review of the Stormwater Bond Fund project drawdown.
Board members, just
Forget that.
the length of the meeting tonight, I'll be brief here. The rest of the reports. This drawdown is very complex with a lot of formulas. And GHD and I met. I was doing it on my own. Mine was pretty rudimentary, and they did this in quick order. And this is very valuable because now we can align the stormwater funds with the sewer funds and borrow money together. This shows the opposite of what we talked about with sewer, where you're running out of money next year. It's hard to spend stormwater money. When you do these projects, as we just talked about in BC7, I thought, well, we can go spend this money. Well, the only problem is it takes years to relocate all these utilities before you can do the stormwater work. So this money, it takes a long time to spend. We're on year 5. So this just shows that you're going to run out of money in 26, and that we're having all these projects that we just talked about that HRG's design, and they're all, every expected design cost, construction cost has all been populated. We think this is pretty accurate. And we will continue to update the board as needed. Any questions?
Any questions on the drawdown schedule? I don't think there's anything there that's a shock or surprise. We've talked about that before. Quarterly financial report. Everybody have a chance to review the quarterly financial report by chance? If you have not, I have, and there's really nothing here that's shocking or unusual. We continue to collect fees, and we have interest earnings and things that are within or exceeding budget due to interest earnings, so we're in pretty good shape there. Expenses have been pretty well managed. There's nothing on the expense side that's really sticking out as anything significant. Outside of that, our cash operating budget still looks like we're going to end around 4.6 million, so we're in pretty good shape. Any questions for anybody on the financials for the quarter? All right. Hearing none. Last thing, engineers report. Jason, you ready?
Thanks, I'm ready.
All
I
right.
think the benefit of going last is most of the items in my report have already been discussed. I think the only major item I wanted to draw attention to with the board is that the 2023-24 MS4 annual report was submitted ahead of the September 30th deadline and accepted by DEP. Many of these projects that Bill mentioned that are in design now seem like they'll be beneficial to the township, with what we're hearing may be included in the next MS4 permit once the information is released from DEP. That still hasn't happened, and there's no timeline set to it yet. But just what we're hearing behind the scenes, a lot of these basin retrofit projects that are going on right now seem like they'll definitely be beneficial to meeting whatever the new requirements are in that permit.
Jason, do you mind, just real quick, Mr. Chairman, board members, the drawdown I just showed you, to be brief, I didn't mention that the $5 million I have budgeted for the next bond issue is for our next MS4 permit. I have no idea what it's going to cost. So the timing with getting your permit and when we have to borrow money hopefully just goes together. If it doesn't, it's going to take some creative planning, but as Jason is saying, we don't know what this criteria are right now, so I just wanted to point that out, that's going to be really critical to end of next year, early 26, to find out what's in our permit, so you can be advised of what your, Jason will let you know what your costs are going to be.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah, and the hope is that executing these projects that you are right now, many of them are grant funded, is going to save you in what that cost ultimately ends up to be once the requirements are known. If you remember at the last meeting, I gave an update on the stormwater ordinance and the updates that were required there. Those were adopted. The ordinance is being used right now. It's out there available on the township website, being put into practice. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys may have on the report.
Any questions for Jason on the engineer's report? Everybody have a chance to read it? The excitement of this report? It's great stuff, man. It's so exciting. All right, if there's no other questions on the report, I think we're good to go there. So, that being said, I think we're at the end of the meeting. 8:45. Not bad. Just a couple of announcements real quick. Next meeting will be Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. Will be a reorganization meeting and a general meeting as well at that point in time. Just want to say, since this will be my last time on the board with Mr. Zulis, I want to say thank you for all your service. It's been great serving with you over the last 6 years, 6+ years, and all the best to you. I'm sure I'll see you around. I see you at Hoffman Ford every once in a while when I'm floating around in there, so.
I'll be around.
I'll be around, so.
Thank you, David.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for your service and your time. I really appreciate it.
If I can just mention real quick, the township is taking letters of interest if anybody would be interested in sitting on the sewer authority.
Okay. Any further comments from anybody? Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.